Let's talk about Tencent before 2014 and after, and their evolution from where they started to the business we try to recognize right now. So why don't you tell us about the early days?
So before 2014, Tencent was kind of focused on always just competing. Okay, we have this person, we have this other company as competition. How do we beat them, right? But 2014 was this landmark deal that they kind of had. This idea, this notion that if we find the right entrepreneur and back them, right, we can help them. We can kind of work with them and grow with them. So they are not great at e-commerce. They're going to give money to JD.com, take a 15% stake, and just kind of go for the ride with the entrepreneur. So that's pretty much what they did in 2014, and I think that's kind of completely transformed Tencent into the business that we know now, which is the two bazookas. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say like, isn't it wasn't it the case that basically they started where Pony Ma had these engineering skills. He saw that the internet was growing, and I forget exactly like what kinds of businesses they were in very, very early. But my recollection is it was like there was a lot of this Groupon kind of group buying stuff
Right.
going on, and then they got into this texting stuff
They were
on
competing with
desktop.
MSN at that point, with Microsoft and
Mhm.
everyone in
Did you ever,
2004.
when you were hearing about those early versions of Tencent, where basically they just had software engineers and were trying to do models of business on the internet that other people were doing, did the word clone and cloner ever pop up for you? Because they look like a serious cloner to me, like especially
Completely.
early on. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of people might not be familiar with ICQ, but are you familiar with ICQ, the chat
No,
service?
no, just from this book.
Okay. I mean, I've heard like some of my friends who have used ICQ like earlier back in the day. This is like in the early 2000s, and it was created by like a group of Israeli engineers.
Mm.
And the Tencent engineers pretty much saw this, and they're like, okay, we're going to create the exact same thing and replicate it. And eventually, like AOL acquired ICQ, and AOL went after Tencent, and they had to change the entire thing, and they had to call it QQ at that point. So definitely, the word copycat stands out, at least in the early days.
Yeah, and you could call it, I like cloning, but there was even a part of the book where they were saying like how, I guess, I don't know if people were complaining or whatever, but there was kind of a reputation around Tencent among consumers of like, oh, they'll just copy what the other what the other other companies are doing. But then they were just undeniable because they would just make it better and better. And then the consumers would would gravitate towards Tencent's products. So that's kind of how they started, just software, seeing what business models were out there, knowing that the internet was going to grow, and then doing it better than other people. But then, like you said, they transitioned into also investing in these other companies. So there was the story of JD in there. There was a story of DD, the rideshare
It won.
company, Meituan, the food delivery, and they told the story of how they developed um, the WeChat
Epic
Pay.
Games.
Yeah, and